Welcome back for another video. In today's video, we will be going through an analysis article by a newspaper here in Sweden covering Swedish hockey. So this is not my own opinion. I've just translated basically what they're saying and their analysis of the roster, and then I will give my personal opinion on it as well. Yeah, so let's get started. I just wrote it down here so we can go through it. So the new players for this season is Jacob Galvas from Rockford Ice Hogs, Johan Ivarsson from Södertälje SK, Teemu Kivihalme from TPS Åbo, Thomas Berg Paulsen from Stavanger Oilers in Norwegian League, Janne Kåkanen. He's a forward, center forward. He's coming from Fribourg Gotteron. Lauri Pajuniemi is coming from Hartford. What's their Wolfpack, I believe. Yeah, it's the New York Rangers organization. And then Albert Sjöberg, who is also from Södertälje SK. And yeah, so let's go through it. So goaltenders, right? So their comment was this pair entered last season but didn't finish it. After Mamelin's season-ending injury at Christmas, he hasn't played in over 6 months. That gave Adam Werner the chance to grow into the SHL game in hockey again. So yeah, so he came back after being in North America a couple seasons, I believe. And yeah, it took a bit of time for him to get back into the swing of things. Didn't have a good preseason. So Mamelin started the season. Mamelin was playing basically every game. But yeah, he took that chance when Mamelin was out. Definitely. Ben Maxwell, who posted a shutout in that last game versus Brynäs, he's left for the German league, and Mamelin is now back to challenge Bano. And that's what it feels like anyway. The roles are reversed. Mamelin felt like the starting goaltender going into last season. This time Bano feels like a starting guy. Now he will have to challenge to get his starting spot back from Adam Werner, and they will battle it out to start the season. So in my mind, Mamelin is still the better goaltender. But I can understand the sentiment that Adam Werner is the starting guy purely based on the fact that Mamelin has not played for over 6 months. So that is completely fair. They will. I expect them to go 50-50 to start the season and play the hot hand. I hope that that's what the coaching staff will do. But yeah, we'll see. So defensemen, Jakob Galvas, Johan Ivarsson, Teemu Kivihalme, Mattias Lassen, Marcus Lauridsen, Adam Olas Mattsson, and Joakim Ryan. Something to notice is that this is the only defenseman lineup without a right shot D-man on the roster. There are junior players who are right shot who can get a shot at showing themselves, as that is missing in the 7 main defensemen of the roster this season. Remaining from previous seasons is Adam Olas Mattsson, who was the team's best defenseman last season. Yes, he was. He was by far the best defenseman that we had. His D-pair partner Joakim Ryan is also remaining in. He had a down year last year compared to the year he came. He did over 30 points from the blue line that first year. So the previous year before this past season, he had a 30 plus point. I think it was 32 points, which is very good from a defenseman in the SHL. So if he can find a way back to that level of play, it'd almost be like a new player. The Danes, Mattias Lassen and Marcus Lauridsen, have been a bit injury-prone the last couple of seasons, but they have a good chemistry together and can be a good third pairing. I don't agree with this. Mattias Lassen usually starts as a 7th man, so he's probably not going to... Well, he probably will play third pairing when there's an injury, but I would completely expect Adam Olas Mattsson, Joakim Ryan, Teemu Kivihalme, and Jakub Galvas to be the top four, and then you would have, let's say, Marcus Lauritsen and Johan Ivarsson as the third pairing, with Matthias Lassen rotating with Johan Ivarsson. This one and this one will be rotating in and out, in case nobody's injured. The new players' names are Jakub Galvas, Johan Ivarsson, and Teemu Kivihalme. Malmö tried to get Kivihalme already last season, but he chose Finland coming over from North America. Now they succeeded. Johan Ivarsson have been praised for his efforts in Södertälje for being one of the best defensemen in Hockeyallsvenskan, the Sweden's second-tier league, and Malmö, who once brought Johan Ivarsson up from the junior leagues to the senior level, of course hope that he can convert that into SHL now. So he is a Malmo player originally. He went through the junior teams in the club, so I really hope that he can convert on his game now that he developed in the second tier league, that he can convert that into the SHL. We'll have to see. It goes on to say the Jakub Galvas was a player that was transferred in early, and he will probably be used in power play and be one of the main guys on the defense roster. Yeah, he will be one of the main pillars. I would expect this guy, and these two guys to be the top four guys at all times, except for when they're injured. Depending on what the coaching staff decides, Lucas Wernbloom can also be an alternative in the center roster. Quine has played center for big parts of his life, so he will most likely start as a center. I disagree with that. I think that he would be best as a top six winger instead of, because otherwise he would be a third line centerman. Is that really what he is on the SHL level? I don't know, but if this is accurate, if this is what they're actually going to do, I'm surprised, because I was thinking that he would be meant for the top six, but who knows? Who knows? This is purely speculation. We do not know. We're not inside the head coach's head, so. It goes on to say Fredrik Hendemark is team captain from the start of the season, and that most likely means a lot to him. He has really played on his highest level when he's been captain for this team, and other players have also elevated their game with Hendemark as their captain. First line centerman most likely will be another in the form of Janne Kuokkanen. He is a bit of a gamble as a center, as his ice time as a centerman has been very limited in the past. Yeah, I don't think that is too much of a worry, honestly, because he is still, like, Hendemark will be deployed in most defensive scenarios, whereas Janne Kuokkanen will be more deployed in the offense. I don't see the problem with him being a centerman, even though he has been a winger for the past few seasons. We'll have to see again. Moving on. Kristoffer Forsberg is the solid fourth line center who is never ill, never injured, and always gives the same consistent level of performance night after night. That is very true. He's our Iron Man. I don't know how was it, like 500 games straight, or it was something absolutely crazy. He's not missed a game for like hundreds and hundreds of games. Crazy. William von Bonnikov is a bit of a dark horse. He can be used as a winger also, but at his core, he is a centerman. Yeah, so he is a center. He can play center. He is the odd man out right now. He's the 13th guy in my book. Yeah. Moving on to the wingers, the forwards. On the wing, 3 new wingers are available. Albert Sjöberg has a bit of growing to do, but there are big hopes that he can take steps in a big way this season. So it's a bit of he has potential. They want to develop him into a guy that can. So he's on the roster, but he's probably going to be, in and out of the lineup. Whereas von Bonnikov might be used instead of him because he has more SHL experience. We'll have to see. Thomas Berg Poulsen is a Norwegian hardworking forward who put the team first. The hope is that he becomes another Mats Roseli Olsen or Anders Bastiansen in the SHL. These two guys, I don't know. Well, I know this guy. This guy is in Frölunda. I don't know this name, but I would assume that it's another Norwegian guy that have performed very well in the Swedish league. Lauri Pajuniemi is thought of as a creative offensive player. He's here to score the goals, supposed to be a straight replacement for Marcus Sylvegård. Yeah, I've already touched on this in previous videos. The rest are all players who remain on the roster. Johan Olofsson is entering his 7th season with the team, and nowadays he's one of the veterans. Carl Persson is also starting to get a lot of seasons under his belt. Persson is a player who will probably play in a top 6 role, maybe to complement the Finns, Kuokkanen and Pajuniemi. Kim Ruustal came in during the season last year, but and had a rough time. He did better at the tail end of the season. Lucas Wernbloom scored 5 assists and 0 goals for 5 points in 44 games during the regular season. He absolutely exploded in the playout series versus Brynäs, scoring 4 goals and 1 assist for 5 points in 5 games. So yeah, he went from a measly total of 5 points in 44 games to 1 point a game player in the playout series, which absolutely insane. I hope that he can continue that. Anton Wahlberg is hopefully taking steps this season to be an established SHL player. Now, for me, the way I would line up is play Wahlberg in the top line with the Finns and play Quine on the wing with Hendemark and Kim Ruustal. That would be my top 6. And then, yeah, I can show after. We'll go through this. I'll show how I would line it up if it was my job. Coaching and managing staff. So we have Patrik Sylvegård. In Swedish, he is the general manager, but if we convert it to English, he's the CEO, and Björn Liljander is the GM. So this guy is like a CEO of a company. He's doing more of the finances and stuff like that, whereas this guy is the sports director, the managing director. I don't know what it's called exactly, what you would call it other than general manager. So that's why it's like this. Björn Liljander is the GM. Thomas Kollar is the head coach. Matthias Tjärnqvist and Petri Limatainen is the assistant coaches. Tjärnqvist is in charge of the forwards, Limatainen is in charge of the defensemen, and Kristoffer Nilstorp is the goalie coach. The team finished 14th out of 14 teams last year, but chose to go all the way with Thomas Kolla into the playout series, and that move was successful. So yeah, basically, they chose not to do any changes and trust that Thomas Kolla was the right man, and he was. Kolla now has his first full season as head coach. For his second season, he will have a bit of a different team to work with. His assistant coaches, Tjärnqvist and Limatainen, are still remaining at the club as well. Player transfer market. With the new transfer of Alan Quine, the door is shut for this preseason. This is the roster chosen to enter the season, but to tell the truth, Malmö has a pretty thin roster. Only 7 D-men and 13 forwards are available right now. A single injury would mean a call-up of a junior player is needed. This is the SHL's thinnest roster, and that is of course a risk. A couple of injuries and you're in a real bad spot. So the need is really to find another defenseman and a forward during the season. It's unlikely to go through a full season without injuries and suspensions. That is very true. This is very true. But I don't see it as a negative to leave space for junior players to come up and do the job and show themselves in actual games, not just preseason, but actual SHL regular season games. Now that can be, if they do it well, that can be a boost, and if it's not done well, that can be a negative. True, but I think there are a handful of both forwards and defensemen that can come up and do the job pretty well. That got the chance to do their debuts already last year. So I agree, but I don't at the same time. We'll just have to see how it pans out. This is the way that they chose to do it, and we'll see if it pans out or not. But yeah, the prognosis. The simple ways to place Malmö at the bottom of the table, it's pretty likely that will be the case. The team is thin, haven't been able to bring in the players they probably wanted to, and the competition looks to have very strong rosters. There's a lot indicating that Thomas Kolla will have to focus on avoiding the last two spots in the standings again this season. The team simply lacks sufficient quality, offensive creativity, and the vulnerability to injuries is a worry. Right, the last part is very, very true, but again, as I said, the junior players getting their chances, it's not a negative in my book. It's if anything, that's one thing that I wanted. In terms of like that, we haven't gotten the players that we wanted. I think Kuokanen and Payuniemi could work out very well. It's a with any player coming from other leagues and from other size of rink, there's a bit of a risk. Sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, it's just the way it is. We recently, in recent memory, we brought home Carl Söderberg, who has been in the NHL for 15 years or something. He came home. He played pretty decent first year. Had a really bad year this year. Didn't perform at all. So it's even with Swedish players coming home, it's a gamble. So for me, I don't really see this. I think the replacements, so to speak, the replacement players, so to speak, are an upgrade on the guys that left the team this summer. So for me, this Malmo roster is better than last year's Malmo roster, right? Um, but how they compare to the other rosters on paper, yeah, sure, true. They might be towards the bottom of the table, but it's not played on paper. A lot of times when Malmo has had a super good team on paper, it just doesn't work out. And so if we go back, say, 5 years when we were in the semifinals of the SHL playoffs, we didn't have on paper a great lineup, but we did have a great group of players that came together and performed until they eventually got beaten by the guys that went on to become the champions. And that happened that happened like 3 years in a row or something. It was crazy every single time. But yeah, so I still think this is the way to go, and I have full trust in the GM that brought in these players, and that they've done their scouting and their vetting, and hopefully this will be a good season because we've had pretty crap seasons now for 4 years since 2019, I believe. We've had pretty crap seasons. We went from top six to being getting beaten in the play-in series, which is basically a pre-qualification round for the playoffs, to then being in no man's land, 11th and 12th place, to then being 14th this past season. So we've had pretty crap seasons the last couple of years. So I think that now is the time to we've cleared out the old guys. We have a good core that is still here from before, and we've added some interesting players. And I think we can surprise people. I think if we don't play on the paper but on the ice instead, I think that we can. If we overachieve, we will be top six. If we overachieve slightly, I think we'll be playing the qualification round for the playoffs. The play-in round. The play-in round is basically teams in the standings that are seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th. They meet each other in a game series of three games. I think we'll be somewhere around there, towards the middle of the table. Top six, obviously, you skip that round and you go straight to quarterfinals. Um, so top six would be absolutely amazing, but I think it's a bit of a stretch for this first season. Um, But yeah, so if we go out of this, and then we can go to yeah, let's go to a different one here. Let's do left wing, centerman, right wing. And then we have the defenseman. And since we have 7 left-handed defensemen, it doesn't really matter who we plays where. But Ullas, Mattsson, Ryan, Kivihalme, Galvas. Currently, I would say Lauritsen and Lassen. No, Ivason. And then Lassen. And then Vano. And then here we go. So Kuokkanen, Pajuniemi. So we have Pajuniemi, we have Kim Ruusdahl. These guys are right-handed. So Pajuniemi, Ruusdahl. Who else is right-handed? I believe. Is he? No, he's left. He's also left. Webby. Is he right-handed? He is right-handed. Okay. And he can play winger and a centerman. Okay. That's cool. Right. Let's do Sjöberg and Olofsson. These guys are all right-handed, so we do have one right-handed winger on each line. And then I would place. This is how I would line up. This is not necessarily how we will line up in the real world. Hendemark, captain. So the norm is that you have one captain and 2 assistant captains on the roster. Officially in the games, you can have more people in the captain's group, but that's internal. That doesn't matter. And Forsberg, and one more. We need one more assistant captain. So Hindemark, and then this is the tricky part. Will you put Quine here? And then you put Van Bloom. You have Forsberg. Okay, I see how they might go like this. I kind of see now how they might go Quine in the middle. And then you can put, who else is missing? You have, and then you can put Van Bloom there, Berg, Paulsen as a fourth line guy, hardworking. And then you have von Barkov. And then you have, who is missing? Called Palsson. So this it could be either this or the other way around. I don't really care, but I want them to play Wahlberg in the top 6. Wahlberg should not be played in the bottom 6. He should be a middle 6 or a top 6 forward. So what you could do is actually move. You could move some of these pieces around. You could put Van Bloom as a centerman. You could put Quine up here, and you could put Wahlberg with Van Bloom and Sjöberg in the center. But yeah, this is probably how I would start the team. we'll see. We'll see how it adds up with the. I will be reporting on the team a lot more when the preseason games come along and we start watching the games and seeing how the different lines gets matched up. But yeah, so that was it. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.